Ever just wake up in a weird mood and immediately start making questionable decisions? Well, that was me today. I'm in a real homebody mood lately, and I think it has to do with the change of the seasons and the weather, so I'm going to be sticking close to home, I think. Probably not going to leave my neighborhood too much. So I welcome you to come hang out with me. I also didn't want to forget to tell you guys that I was interviewed back in the early summer for Self magazine, where I talked about hair loss, and it was really strange to be on the other side of the interview process as an interviewee instead of the interviewer. But I'm actually happy with the way the article turned out. I'll leave a link below, and if I remember to do so, also in the comments, so you can read that if you want to. And if you do like my vlogs and you want to see more of them, if you could just hit that like button and consider subscribing or leaving a comment and help me get out of YouTube jail, where I have been for over a year now, that would not only help me, but maybe even benefit you if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. Now I have other kinds of content too, including a hair curling tutorial that you just saw me do. I have a whole video on that. I'll link it up in the cards. But lately I've really been enjoying making these vlogs for you, even though I'm in a massive homebody mood today. Finally forced myself out. This is much later than I usually go for my morning walk, and I've got with me my mittens. I am suddenly feeling the onset of seasonal affective, I'm not going to call it disorder, but we're going to say blues, seasonal affective blues. I get these every year. I get them now and I get them again in February. One thing I've really discovered that helps is just staying warm. I find that if I can just cut down on feeling cold like half the day, it makes me feel a lot better. Sometimes that even means just staying inside as well. So yes, sometimes I am somewhat ludicrously overdressed for the weather, which includes these wool mittens. I always admire this apartment building. It's so nice. And this is the route that I normally take when I'm in a homebody kind of mood. It's just like a 10-minute loop that I walk, and then I go home. In the distance is some sort of mommy and me baby singing group. Mentally, I'm trying to prepare for winter, and usually this time of year is so gray, but it's been sunny and delightful. Somebody forgot their hat. I guess I'm not the only one who overdresses when it's just slightly chilly. Okay, that lady, is that who I think it is? She walks with her dogs in such perfect unison. She's a dog walker. She is so impressive with those dogs. I see her around the neighborhood all the time, and let me tell you, the way they all march in unison, it's like they're in the army. It's so impressive. So that's Romano cheese on my pasta lunch, which is the cheese that I grew up eating. It is notably saltier than Parmesan cheese, which is not a cheese that I actually grew up with. It was always Romano. So the other thing I've started to do when I'm starting to feel that sensation coming on is I don't force myself to do things, which is something I would have typically done. I would have forced myself to go out for walks when it's icy or just unpleasant things. And so now I realize actually that just sets me back in the end. And so while you're trying to achieve like health goals and stuff like that, what you end up doing is putting a sort of undue pressure on yourself to do things that ultimately don't make you feel good. And again, it's tied to that sensation of being cold. That's a real trigger for me. Sorry for all the background noise. That is my washing machine going. What I'm doing here is I actually like to dilute my Dawn dish liquid into a smaller one with lots of water. And then I cut the top off like a Lysol bottle. I just trim it because this would be too long otherwise. So I trim this, and then once I really water this down, I guess these tops are universal because this Lysol bottle top fits it. And then I just use it like this. I actually prefer to spray. It also makes Dawn last forever when you use it this way. Of course, I still use it concentrated for like really dirty messes, but for just a light wipe down, or just like spritzing off a dish before you're gonna, like a really dirty dish before you're gonna put it in the dishwasher, which I don't usually do. I don't even bother scraping. I usually put them in there pretty dirty and they come out clean. But you know, once in a while you do need to spray, and I spray the countertops and stuff like that as well, but it's really handy for that. So yeah, that's all you need is Dawn, like an existing one. Just wait till you have very little left, and then you need to save a top of a Lysol, a Windex or whatever. This would probably, yeah, this looks the same. This would probably work too. So you just save the spray top. Of course, you can just buy a spray bottle and use that too. I've always wanted to share that tip with somebody, so it feels good to get that one off my chest. My kitchen gets so dirty and I cannot stand a dirty kitchen. Okay, I've got to finish rinsing this out, but that is actually not too bad for just like a spritz of Dawn. You don't need a lot of Dawn. That's the thing I think that people don't know. A little goes a long way. There is the culprit in question, my 18-year-old washing machine that is still going. I've never really shown you guys around, so I'm going to do it quickly, starting from the actual back door. This is my kitchen. This little powder room in the kitchen, which is, you know, not ideal, but it's better than no powder room. This is my extremely skinny hallway that is going to be terrible for accessibility if I ever need a wheelchair when I'm old. The foyer, hallway, whatever you want to call it. This is a little vestibule in the front of the house where it's got some hooks. They've always been there. These are hanging our jackets. Shoes off in Canada. We don't wear our shoes inside usually. Some people do, but we don't. My front door, I'm not going to show you guys the front of the house because sometimes I have weirdos following me here. True story. I have this mail slot, and that is actually where I still get my letters delivered. And if it's a larger package, the postman usually just leaves it on the floor for me, just here where the screen door is. That is the view from the front. It's a busy street, definitely. As you can see, a lot of cars pass, which is not my favorite, but you know what, it's okay. This is my living room, completely unrenovated. Includes original crown molding from 1913, something like that. That is the wood burning fireplace, originally a coal burning fireplace. That's why it's so small, but you can, and we do, burn wood in the winter, so stick around for maybe wintertime vlogs. If I'm still vlogging, then I will put the fire on, you guys can see. Love having a mantle. The most expensive piece of furniture in the whole house, this leather sofa that we replaced. So if you watched old vlogs of mine, it was a white leather sofa from IKEA that was not expensive but lasted a long time. So time will tell if this one that cost 5 times the amount that that one did has the longevity. We took a long time picking up this color, but I love it. Very old IKEA coffee table, still going strong. Has nice rounded edges, so you never really clip yourself, even though it is all metal. And drapes from Urban Outfitters. They're also like 20 years old, but they're hanging in there. So through the living room is the dining room that has this original pocket door that needs to be repainted, as you can see. But that, if you want to, closes off the dining room from the living room. And this is the extremely dark dining room. Let's put on a chandelier. Again, original crown molding up there that has got a few cracks, really could stand to be filled. This is where all the family action happens at dinner time. We eat dinner together every night. That's important to us as a family. These are blank canvases that I painted over, so you know they're not meant to be white like this. I just don't know what I'm going to do to them yet. Over here's my little art nook, including my little art lamp because it is so dark in here. So when I want to work in here, I put it on. And if you hear all the floors crackling as I walk, that's part of the deal. Let me pan you down a bit. These are original hardwood floors and they're creaky. This piece of pottery is probably one of the nicest things I own. It came from Ireland. Friends who are visiting brought it for us as a housewarming gift, and it is one of my treasured pieces, one of our treasured pieces in the home. This is the upstairs level. There's actually 3 stories in this house, including an unfinished basement, which I won't be showing you because it is rather dungeony down there. Behind me is the bathroom, one of the few completely renovated rooms in the entire house. My kids' bedroom, which we will not be going into. We have a spare bedroom, you can see there. And then I will show you my bedroom because you've seen this a ton of times before. Here it is. This is often where you see me filming. A bit of a mess today, so don't look too closely. King size bed. Headboard is West Elm. Old IKEA table, old Mac desktop. Those are my painting supplies in the corner because I've been painting upstairs a bit. Being that this is a heritage house, we have this upstairs fireplace, which doesn't work anymore. It is blocked off, but it is still attractive. I still like using this mantle. Sometimes I film in here. You've seen me in these spots as well. This lacquer dresser is from CB2. I think, and I've got the humidifier going because, you know, as soon as the heat goes on in the house, that's a heater vent, I have to put the humidifier on as well because it gets really dry really quick. Here's some watercolors I've been working on. A few samples that have been sent to me, my collection of Merit makeup, and some busted windows that are getting replaced. These windows have seen better days. They're from 1985, and all the seals are done, so that's why they're cloudy. So these are getting replaced hopefully within the next couple of weeks. If you're in the unfortunate position of needing new windows as I do, I feel sorry for you because one of the more expensive repairs we've had, other than the roof, which you've had to replace. We've lived here now Going on 18 years, I think. Dryer's on and it's making an absolute racket because I'm using wool dryer balls, and so this is as good an opportunity as any to start the Roomba. Yes, I use my foot to put it on. I like cleaning surfaces, but I don't love vacuuming. But you usually see my husband doing it and not me. So I bought this Roomba, and she's not that good. She just bangs into things, but still better than sweeping myself. Gonna do a little bit of watercolor painting just because I'm feeling so blah today. The problem with these, as much as I love this size, as much as I love painting on a block, is that you have to remove it. I'm using a butter knife here, and I've seen people tear it off with their hands. I'm not very good at doing that, so using the dull side of the butter knife to just go around. And what I'm doing, I don't know if you can see, my hand is blocking, just kind of pushing through, because it's glued on all sides. I actually really like how this watermelon print turned out. Even though the summer and watermelon season anyway is long gone where I am. All right, okay, so ta-da! So that's ready to hang now. And I've got a fresh new piece for me to paint on. That's where my paints are. I think I'm ready. I do like to spend a bit of time organizing these things in a way that makes sense for the way that I paint. Now, the other thing that's got me wondering about whether I've become too much of a homebody or not is I love making art these days. Like, this is a vital part now of every day. I love to have time to sit down and do some watercolor or do some drawing. I enjoy it so much, but is it keeping me from going out? I don't know. And is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? I guess it doesn't really matter as long as I'm enjoying myself and I feel good. For example, if you watch some of my older vlogs, because I was vlogging about 2 years ago before, I got exhausted from the amount of work that it is, I would be out and about at this point of the day. Like, I'd be out shopping or exploring neighborhoods. Whenever I have a big homebody day, I almost always make a Cantonese stir fry. I am actually Cantonese, so this is legit, except for the Kikkoman Japanese soy sauce. Let's pretend that's a Chinese brand. However, I don't really ever make recipes here on YouTube, so I don't know how this is gonna go, so I'm gonna just try my best to make this recipe in a way that you can maybe follow. Me making a chicken stir fry. The key really to a Cantonese style stir fry, and when I say Cantonese style, many of you will be familiar with like Canadian Chinese or like American Chinese food is usually based on Cantonese style cooking, although that is changing in recent years. But like if you're like me and you're like in your 40s, 50s, whatever, that is the kind of Chinese food you probably grew up with if you grew up in North America. So anyhow, the main key is just making the Cantonese style gravy, which we will do later. It's called like brown gravy. So for me, a proper stir fry involves a lot of vegetables, and I like to use triangle cuts or square cuts on these sturdier vegetables. And when you're doing the broccoli, make it small, make the little pieces smaller than you think. That really helps to cook nicely. Don't use slices, they just wither down to nothing and they're kind of stringy. So triangle shapes and these big long shapes. So we now have this big old pile of vegetables. I like to have at least 3, and I have these gigantic green onions. Did you see how big these were? Like, that was not a visual trick. They're huge. And then I have a little bit of garlic here, which I don't think you saw me chop, but that is to add to the chicken. So now I'm just going to deal with the chicken. It is easiest if you cut up this chicken when it's sort of not completely defrosted yet, because it's a bit firm and it's easier to slice. So let's do that now. Now, if you're using beef, you'll want to slice it really thin across the grain. Less important for chicken, but keep it thin. Probably like many of you, I do not love handling raw meat, but at one point I decided that if I'm going to eat meat, I'm going to have to learn how to touch meat and cut it up and be comfortable, or else I do not have the right to eat meat. So seasoning your meat is ultra important, and I think it's really the thing that makes the difference between your Cantonese stir fry being good and not so good. So just follow what I do. You need to get this Knorr chicken powder. It's got MSG in it, and MSG is amazing. It is a type of salt, and it's gonna make it taste great. I'm gonna go in with a tiny bit of baking soda. Do not overdo the baking soda, it will make it taste terrible. I've got just 1/4 of a teaspoon of just regular baking soda. So I'm gonna throw that on the top, and that's gonna tenderize the meat It's more important of a step, frankly, for beef rather than chicken, because chicken breast especially already is pretty tender. But I do like to put in there a little bit in there. Another really important ingredient is cornstarch. And this is going to give it that silky texture you know and you love and you associate with Chinese stir fry. Next is soy sauce. Do not be cheap. I'm going to say for this amount of chicken, I ended up using 4 chicken breasts. I'm going to put in a good 2.5 teaspoons, and I still might even add more. Don't be cheap on this seasoning, because this is where most of the flavor comes from the dish. This and the Cantonese brown gravy. So that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to get a bit of water as well. Cold water, that's just cold water. What that's going to do is hydrate the cornstarch. In an ideal world, I would have done this early in the morning and let it sit all day in the fridge with a saran wrap over the top or a plate over the top. But you know what? It was just not that kind of day for me. It's going to look quite brown. And the reason it's going to look quite brown is the soy sauce. It's going to look quite wet, and that's okay. So it is at this point that you want to add a bit of oil, just any kind of neutral oil. I use sunflower oil, and let's see, where are we? Here we are. That's just my sunflower oil. And the reason, and I'm going to free pour here, but I'm guessing it's about 1.5 tablespoons. The reason you want to do this after you've added your seasonings is because if you do it first, then you'll waterproof it and it won't pick up the flavor of the powders that we put in. Other things you can add is white pepper. I don't know if I have any, but the essentials, soy sauce, okay? You need to have this. And I would say do not skimp on the chicken powder. This is not expensive. It's worth getting if you like to make stir fry a lot. And it can also just be reconstituted, I think, into broth. Because I think technically this is, instant stock mix. So it can make chicken stock. And I almost forgot these little pieces of garlic. When these hit the frying pan, they will caramelize, they will be tasty, but in the meantime, we need them to flavor the chicken. And you don't want to go too small with the garlic pieces. If you do crush the garlic into it, it can be overpoweringly garlicky. So I wouldn't do that. I would just slice them like that. And they will cook nicely. Now, when you're cooking this, if I forget to tell you, you're not going to put this huge batch in the wok or in your frying pan. You're going to portion this much into 2 or 3 batches when you do go and fry. I don't want to give you guys any wrong impression that I love cooking. I can't really say that I love doing it. If I could have a chef that cooked me like amazing meals every single night of the week, I would definitely do that instead. But I like eating well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like eating well, so that kind of pushes me into the world of having to cook pretty frequently. I don't know, I just get tired of restaurant food. Like, I couldn't be someone who eats at restaurants every single day, for sure not. But home cooking, I could eat home cooking all the time, as I think most of us could. I've learned how to master some really good dishes. It's definitely not a passion or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make Cantonese gravy. Okay, so for Cantonese gravy, it's really about ratios, and I might not get them right because I'm going to do them by eye. I'm at the age now where I can do like most things just by looking at them. However, that said, I do have an actual proper Cantonese gravy recipe with specific measurements. You basically need to know is you definitely need water, you need soy sauce, right? As we were talking, this is the magic ingredient. This is what makes everything happen. And you need cornstarch. And these are just your basic elements. And I'll put up either on the screen or down in the description box exactly the amount you need to make a serviceable, yummy Cantonese brown gravy. So I just eyeball it now. Do a good long pour of soy sauce. This is what thickens it. And it has to be cold water. Or else you're gonna have a problem with your cornstarch dissolving. And that's kind of it. Like when you see that brown gravy on top of Chinese takeout, that's what this is. Water, cornstarch, soy sauce. So I use 2 frying pans because I ain't got all day and this really helps to speed up the process. You know, I would love the romance of just using like 1 wok. I use frying pans that are flat because I don't have gas burners. And I just, you know, the thing that people don't know about Cantonese food is when they are using a wok, they're using those very high, huge flames. And so those kind of woks just don't work well on these flat burners. Anyway, I'm getting aside from the point. I have this bowl. This is where I put the chicken in. Suffice it to say, this is gonna be my chicken pan. That's gonna be some of my vegetables pan. What I do with the chicken is just like this thing called take the rawness out of it, which is just a quick fry on both sides. When it's just the teeniest bit brown, I plop it all into that bowl. And then eventually everything comes together, including a cook of everything together at the end. Hopefully you'll catch all of that. This is all my vegetables that I've got to cook off. This is the chicken that I got to do in at least a couple batches. Hopefully I can get through it in 2, or else I'll be here all day. And then this is the Cantonese gravy, which is the last thing you make after everything else is done, and you coat it over the tops. Let's hit it. Oh, and you know, I set my rice on in my Instant Pot. I use the rice function, and that's actually finished. So that's ready to go. It's nice and hot. It'll be perfectly hot still when we sit down to eat. So with a good glug of neutral oil in both of these frying pans, I get going, careful not to cross-contaminate my different utensils. They're all going together eventually anyway, but this chicken that's cooked over here is not really fully cooked. It's a bit raw inside. I wish you guys could smell this right now. These peppers smell so good. So we're up pretty high, medium high, and we're trying to get a char. This frying pan is hot because it's been on for such a while now. And when we feel they're softer anyway, we'll add all the rest of this mostly cooked food, put it all together, put the lid on, cook it for a little bit more. You want it to be bright. You want it to look like this. Okay, that is perfect. And you can get that effect with a frying pan. You need to have a little bit of patience, and you need to make sure your pan is quite hot. And you got to just let it cook on each side a little bit longer than you think. Everything goes back in the pan, and then I lid it and I leave it there for another 3 or 4 minutes, make sure it's cooked through. Okay, so that's all off the heat. I'm actually gonna lid it. You use your hot pan, get your gravy, and you stir it back up again, because what will have happened is the cornstarch will resettle at the bottom, so you don't want that. So you just pour this in. Very simple at this point. You're just gonna whisk it or use your utensil, and it's gonna get bubbly. And when it's glossy and not white anymore, you know it is ready. And that is the point, my friends, which you take the lid off your stir fry, which you're keeping warm over there, and then you pour this on top of it. And then boom, it's ready to serve, basically. So we're getting there. See how it's getting thick? Some people think it is oil in the gravy. There is no oil in the gravy. It is just the cornstarch that gives it that silky texture, which either you like or you don't like. Some people don't like the texture. You don't have to make this gravy if you don't want. I love this gravy. Not everybody does. I get it. So that's pretty much what you're looking for. See how brown and glossy that is? So many bubbles. You know that the cornstarch is cooked through. It doesn't take very long. I'm lifting this up. I'm gonna grab maybe a rubber spatula because I don't want to miss any of the gravy. That's all bubbly and hot and delicious. We're gonna pour it over the top now. That's how you do it. A lot of it's still in the pan, so that's why it's handy to have a rubber spatula. There we are. See, half of it was just clinging to the pan, so you need something to scrape it off. Et voila. This is not the dish to be making when you're in a rush, but it is such a cozy meal. So start to finish, that was an hour, because chopping is very labor intensive. And even the cooking of it, I mean, it's like I said, it's not for the days you're in a rush. It's for the days where you feel like spending an hour in the kitchen. And if that's not your day, then save it for a day that, you know, you're chill. This is just steamed jasmine rice, which I'm not doing a great job of stirring because I'm trying to do this with one hand and holding the phone with another. So Asians, don't judge me. Here we are. I'm gonna grab a nice heaping helping for myself. Let's get some with a little bit of gravy. All right, let's eat. It's important for me every night to spend a little bit of time reading, even if it's only like 10 or 15 minutes. This is Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. Such a great book. I refer back to it often. It really helps me stay offline. Good morning. These crows are going at it. Very loud. It's far less chilly today, and I was able to leave the gloves at home, which feels nice. I also think my face framing layers, the few that I cut, actually turned out nice. I think they look pretty good. In fact, as the weeks go on, or the week goes on, I want to maybe trim off a little bit here. I just don't want to see the hairdresser for like 4 different little layers. You know what I mean? It just feels like a lot just to trim tiny bits off, which I'm pretty adequate at doing myself. All right. This is the dollar store, which you would have seen me just briefly zip in and out of last time. I think not the last vlog, but the one before. My son is having some kids over for a get-together, so I'm gonna pick up some juice, even though none of us drink it, but I think it would be good to have a little bit of juice for them. So So a real Canadian flavor is the ketchup, but I can see there's only one bag. Who knew it was so popular? I actually don't like the flavor. I find it too vinegary. All dressed, another Canadian flavor, also a little bit vinegary. Okay, I think we're gonna get these plain ones. Is this Miss Vicky's, a Canadian brand? Can you let me know in the comments if you have this where you live? Police. All right, errand's done. So this is a cute new cafe that opened. Very French style, very cute. And this is the new curly hair salon that opened. So what's your take on being inside a lot? Do you feel like you've become more of a homebody since the COVID era or less of one? Because some people had a big rebound where they just wanted to be out and about a lot as soon as lockdowns, quarantining and stuff were over. And some people kind of went the opposite direction. And I think I might have gone the opposite direction, and I don't love that. I've mentioned this before. Don't worry though, we still have lots of shabby little dive bars like this one, Wise Guys Bar and Grill. Mixed in with the, the pizza bars and the cafes and the orthodontic offices. Just taking a minute to admire these beautiful red leaves. You'll often find me chatting with you guys in the actual laneways. And the reason for that is just quieter, not as many people are around. I don't love catching people who don't necessarily want to be on YouTube without their permission, even though you can film people out on the streets. It's totally legitimate, at least in Canada, to do that. But frankly, it's weird to be holding your camera and talking to it like this, although less now than before, because so many people live stream and so many people have FaceTime conversations, although they're usually holding the phone in the other direction. It's not as weird as it once was. Let's put it that way. Okay, we're back. Door's a bit sticky. Again. Just look at the sunshine. It's so nice. I'm actually hot and sweating. I never use this camera. This is actually the camera in my laptop. I've been having the most frustrating work day. Has this ever happened to you where everything you do, you seem to get thwarted? I got sidetracked by a number of phone calls. I never have multiple phone calls in any given block of work. So I've just been taking one after another. I've got actually not that much work done. It's a good thing that I don't really have anywhere I need to be this afternoon. Why is it when you're super busy and you're on deadline that you get lots of different phone calls from people you haven't heard from? I got 3 phone calls in the space of about an hour and a half from people that don't call me that regularly. Don't get me wrong, happy to get phone calls from friends, family, etc. It's just unusual for me to get them all at the same time when I'm also super busy. So that's the kind of day I've been having so far. So I'm gonna be hitting the keyboard and the notebook. Oh, can you hear all the birds? They're absolutely going crazy. I can't see any of them, but I hear them. It's that tree. It has 1,000 birds in it. That was a very long day, but it's over now. Back out on the sunny streets. Hopscotch. What an absolutely beautiful day. I am sorry to see the end of autumn. I really am. Everything's still green. It's weird for this time of year. We've arrived. Pilates class was awesome. I have to wear my hair up though because the reformer has a way of pulling out just literally one strand of hair or 2 strands. So I have to put my hair up because it eats it every single time. And just like that, it is dinner time again. I'm gonna make a salad. And we're just having sandwiches for dinner because I'm tired from yesterday's cooking. Probably grill up some sausage and pepper. So that'll be good. And put this peach maybe in the salad. Look at the size. Look at the size of this thing. This is my hand. This is the peach. I do about 80% organic, 20% not organic when it comes to produce, fruits and vegetables. And when it comes to meat, maybe 50% organic and 50% not. And then when I'm eating at restaurants, I just eat whatever I want to eat. But I'm definitely not one who's going to proselytize a full organic all the time kind of lifestyle. It's great if you can. If you can't, the key thing I think really is just making sure you eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. That's the most important thing. That's at least what I understand from dietitians. Anyway, don't worry, I'm not going to be doing a full cooking session like I did earlier, but I wanted to show you, this is my shun knife, and my goodness, does this make my life easier. It was $200, so not cheap, definitely a splurge, but the amount of vegetable cutting I have to do in a day is astounding. So it's just nice to have something that glides through sweet potato, potatoes, etc. like butter. So this is a Japanese knife. If I remember, I'll put down a link for it. Seriously, the amount of vegetable chopping I've had to do, and I have not even sharpened this once in the last 8 years that I've owned it. It's sharp as the day I got it, but I like that I barely put any pressure on it at all and it just goes right through. So this is a bit of peach for the salad. I'm just basically making a salad and we'll have these lovely pretzel buns. I love a pretzel bun. So we'll put that on the grill with the pepper. It's gonna be a good, easy meal. Look at this beautiful baby romaine though. So I guess what you've been witnessing is my own internal struggle with being a homebody versus someone who wants to be out and about more. But for one reason or another, at least over these 2 days, I was just really stuck in the house a lot. And I kind of liked it, you know? I'm not gonna lie. I just didn't have a lot of energy to be running out and about. And again, not to keep harping on the changing of the seasons, but I think that's okay for me now. You know, I used to think that every day, all day of every year was not supposed to be any different. That mustard is amazing, by the way. It's Keen's. But now I'm realizing it's okay to have like seasonal ups and downs in terms of your energy and how much you want to do outside of the house. So I kind of like this for me. And by the way, you may have noticed that I do all my dressings right into the bowl because I'm too lazy to put them in a jar and shake them up first. There he is. That's my backyard gray squirrel. He's so cute. Look at that. Hey. So my husband is dealing with the grill because, listen, I've done enough. I don't have to grill as well as cook. You know what I'm saying? These look great though. My favorite thing here is probably the red peppers. They're so good grilled. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's it. That's the end of the vlog. I'm just gonna have a chill evening now. Basically a repeat of yesterday. Read a little bit, have a couple snacks, watch some TV. All right, if you did enjoy that, why don't you subscribe already? Have you subscribed? Have you watched my other vlogs yet? I'm gonna put them up. Watch those next. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video or vlog.